It sounded so good in my head.
You go look while I'm sitting here.
Ah, it feels so sterile.
This is what you're good at, so I'm gonna trust you.
We need a plan.
Then go get a plan.
But all the ones in here are too big. Feel good about that?
Okay, so we outlined. Alright, hello and welcome everybody back to the channel. My name is Dave with Amari Productions. Today I have Jamie with JW Coordination. She is a wedding planner. She is a famous YouTuber.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that. I did that just for the reaction. No, but she really is. You should look her up. Okay, so today, that feels like a weird transition. How can we transition better from just introducing you guys straight to timelines?
I would honestly say, really, you could just drive.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this your first time being on video?
It's my first time. It's fine. What I get reamed for the most is long intros.
Oh. I have to remember that, like, in all of this, as I'm trying to figure this out, that you have hard data. Like, I just need this, like, yeah, just throw it out there when you're like, actually, 60% of my subscribers click out of the video when I take longer than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so hard data says that this is already way too long. We are going to dive right in today. Today, we are talking about timelines. This is obviously something that affects every part of your wedding. It affects you, your parents, your bridal party.
There is so much meat here. There's so much value here that we got to talk about this.
Yeah. Because
there's so many elements that we see and we know that if you're not a vendor behind the scenes, you don't know these elements.
Yeah.
And so we figured it was high time that we shed some light on what a timeline is and what it looks like and how to create an effective one and what's the purpose of it. And now I've listed off like 17 different questions. We may not answer all those. I need to cut some of those out. Okay. This just turned into a 30-minute video.
Yeah, stay with us for the next hour as we to start off. Yeah. And now I can't cut that out because we're just laughing through it all, so there's going to be zero context if I cut and we just start this next question with us laughing.
Unless we just...
To start off, basic question, top level, why do you need a timeline? Why is this the topic that, as we were going over a larger question of coordinating, planning topics that we just like latched onto, both from our separate perspectives, latched onto and ran with? Just top level, hit me. You as a client, as a couple, are spending a ton of money for your wedding. Like, I don't care if you have an $8,000 budget or if you have an $80,000 budget or a $180,000 budget. All of it is a lot of money. And you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of each and every vendor that you have booked. So that means you want to make sure that the meal you're eating is at the appropriate temperature. No one wants a warm salad or cold chicken. But we also want to make sure that you are getting plenty of opportunities for your photo and video teams to capture all of the footage that they need to give you the best results from your wedding day as well. A third element to that is the guest experience. Because if you've paid a lot of money to host all of these people to come and then there's some sort of glitch in your timeline or it lags too much, people get bored and they'll leave early. And then you have this seat that you paid $100 for someone to be sitting in, for their meal, for the centerpiece at their table, for the tablecloth for the table that they're sitting at. When you start calculating all of those costs on average, it's about $100 a guest. So you've spent all this money for someone who just got bored and left. And that's both sad for you experientially and sad for your pocketbook. So that's why I feel like timelines are so important. That and your own stress and your own sanity. Yeah.
It was like 82 different references, but there's a lot of reasons why a timeline's important. So even for someone like me who's been in the industry for about 4 saucy years now, thank you very much. I know, I'm like a legend at this point. It's still something for me that I am constantly tweaking and learning things about timelines, and this is what I do. And I would say that I give out pretty gosh darn good timelines, but even in our conversation earlier, I'm like, I'm now going to make adjustments to my timeline based on what I learned from you. And this is what I do for a living. I'm still really good at what I do. Like, don't hear that incorrectly. I'm just saying there are so many elements to a timeline that it's almost ever evolving. And as I grow more in the industry, I'm learning which tweaks need to go back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, and I would say for us even, so in our pre-production process, we're getting a questionnaire from you, we're getting the timeline from you, we're looking over the venue, of all those different things. Going over the timeline is the most important, and it really requires the most learned skill. Like there are things that are right, like there are things that you can train somebody on. There are things that you can have a curriculum or a manual. But reading a timeline and really understanding how that flows, if you, we were talking about this and you're like, I'm going to do this. If you send me a timeline and just give me 60 seconds with it, just to scan it real quick, I can tell you right away, like, here's a choke point.
Yeah.
That is a very hopeful, that's a very idealistic idea of how long that's going to take. Or here's a spot where like, there's a lot of padded time in there, which actually can be great because we'll get to this a little bit later, but timelines don't stay on time.
What? No.
So yeah, having padded time is actually can be great. So I just think that there is like real genuine value in having a timeline that is professionally, emphasis on professionally, prepared. Because that's the other thing. I can see immediately when you send me a timeline, you don't have to tell me if you put it together. I know. I know you put it together.
Yeah.
Versus I know when a venue coordinator put it together, versus I know when a photographer put it together, a DJ put it together, or a planner put it together.
And I feel like if I can...
I was trying to figure out how to give it to you.
No. I think that...
Take it.
Thank you. I feel like... This is me petting.
Are you petting it right now?
Yeah.
Did I have permission to cut that?
Sounded good at the time! So I feel like there's a big difference between, like you just stated, all the different sorts of people that can create timelines, and I feel like my job as a wedding planner is to make sure that I'm seeing to the needs of all of the vendors.
Yes.
And I think that is something that's very specific why you can tell, oh, this is done by a venue coordinator.
Yeah.
Because there's no hair and makeup start time.
Yep.
Or, oh, this is done by the catering staff, first of all, because it says banquet event order at the top.
Yeah.
And second of all, because it says the timing of each plate of the meal.
Yes.
But it doesn't say when the guests are anticipated to arrive. Or a photographer who does it, who potentially has a longer package than you do. So that's something that we do in our day of intake, so to speak, is I always ask, how long do you have your photographer and how long do you have your videographer? And then we will actually craft the wedding day to make sure that you get all of the things shot and covered that you want shot and covered. So we'll oftentimes start with the ceremony time, work our way back to either the first look or when photos start, and then go all the way forward into the evening, and I will tell them, this is the time that your photographer and your videographer are leaving. Are you comfortable with the scheduling? Do you want to scoot it in one direction or another without sacrificing too much of the time on the front end? Or do you want to add on more time? I would say a good third of the time, couples go, oh snap, I didn't realize, yes, we'll add on more time. So basically, that is what I feel like us as wedding planners, we strive to do, is to make sure the timeline is honoring of you guys and your craft, making sure the client gets exactly what they need out of their 8-hour package, and that catering goes smoothly, and that hair and makeup is done relatively on time, because that is one of the things that can occasionally run late. So for us, how we craft a wedding timeline is completely different than how you would craft a timeline.
Yep.
Because your main focus is your craft.
Yeah.
And what you're delivering, as it should be.
I literally never thought about how a catering manager is stressed about the temperature of the food. And I've been doing this for 10 years. And I have been plenty angry.
Yeah. Internally.
I would never say anything to anybody. But I've been plenty angry internally at some of the hang-ups in the timeline on live on the event that have happened because of things happening in the kitchen. But on the flip side of that, I have never thought to have patience or grace for the catering manager because they're stressed about the chicken being served at 120 degrees instead of 100. Oh, I don't cook. And
you don't want to serve chicken at 120 degrees.
65.
165 is cooked for chicken.
In 165 degrees.
That was fun.
We got there.
Yeah. Just don't eat Dave's cooking.
Do not.
Moral
Do
of the
not.
story.
Do not.
But so that is something that, and that's what we do as planners or day of coordinators, is we're the go-between.
Mm-hmm.
So if photo and video runs late because the ceremony started late because there was traffic and your guests didn't get there on time,
Mm-hmm.
and so we had to kind of hold off, we will then be the people that will run to the catering staff and say, hey, I know you've been prepping all day. We started 20 minutes late. My guess is we will not make up that time during cocktail hour because they didn't do a first look, and this is the only opportunity that they have for photos, so we have to push catering start time. I know, I'm sorry, we're gonna do the best we can to kind of rein this in, but anticipate being 20 minutes late. And that literally just happened at a wedding that we filmed the behind the scenes on, and I went to the catering manager and I was like, bro, I'm so sorry. Like, there's nothing we can do. But yeah, so we're that go-between too.
Yeah, I want to jump over to something else real quick, because I've heard you've touched on this briefly in a couple of your statements already, and that is why timelines fall behind. Because you've touched on a couple of these.
Yeah.
I obviously, like both of us being in the field, we see why. So I'm curious to hear like a couple of yours, and then I'll give you a couple of mine, so that you guys can see, even with the best team, even with a planner, a good planner who knows what they're doing, you've got a full team of all-star vendors. Here are the ways that your timeline is still probably at some point in the day going to lose some time.
So I would say that some of the biggest culprits are guest arrival. We really try not to start a ceremony. I like to be as on time as possible. Like, I'm definitely not in the camp, put 30 minutes earlier than your actual start time on your invitation.
Interesting.
I
see that very often.
It is, and perhaps it's a cultural thing. So like I need to say that, take all this with a grain of salt. But we had an event where the couple had put 30 minutes before their actual ceremony start time, and guests showed up 30 minutes before the invitation start time.
Ooh.
So we had guests waiting around for an hour.
Yeah.
And those are the guests that leave early.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's guest arrival, which is usually caused by traffic. If there is some sort of road closure or construction, or if it's like 5 o'clock on a Friday, you're gonna run into those things.
Yeah. I'll go even one further back in the day. Hair and makeup, getting ready. The morning, that's like the one time of the day where you do get to be a little bit more relaxed. You get to hang out with this is literally like your best friends, right? That's why they're in the room with you. So you're hanging out with all your best friends. It's your wedding day. You have like 4 hours for you, because you start at like 6, 7, 8 a.m., whatever. You start really early in the day before we get there. So you have hours on the timeline, and all you're doing is just like taking turns getting your hair and makeup done. It's super easy. Take our time, have fun, and then whoops. You were supposed to put your dress on an hour ago, and you're just now sitting down into the chair. It doesn't usually fall that far behind, but that's an easy place to lose 10, 15 minutes. So if you lose 15 minutes there, and then you lose 15 minutes on the ceremony, because again, that's something that's out of everyone's control. It's not your guests. I mean, it is kind of your guests' fault. They should have left earlier.
That's kind of
you can take it up with them. But but it's not like. It's just these are the things where it's kind of outside of your control, and it's gonna push things back a little bit. So it's almost never something where like, whoa, that just started an hour late. It's just little things here that cost 5 minutes, that cost 10 minutes. All right, guys, we will pick up the rest of that conversation next week as we touch on the single greatest threat, at least from your photo and videos perspective, the single greatest threat to your wedding day timeline. And I promise you, that is not clickbait, because it is the one thing we cannot change, we cannot adjust. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can meet up next week to wrap up our conversation with Jamie Wolfer of JW Coordination. And if you're not already following her on all of her various channels, I'll link them all below. And for now, let's head over to her channel where we'll chat a little bit more about videography. All right, I'll see you guys over there.